Let's see what our old buddy Greg is up to in this video that Kingfisher so wonderfully spent the channel points to request. So let's fucking boogie, chat. Let's go.
I'm the rootinest, tootinest, rip-rootinest, price-cuttingest, YouTubingest drinks man on the internet, and I'm here to tell you about everything that Red Dead Redemption 2 gets wrong about drinking in the Wild West.
I love Greg. I love Greg. Holy shit.
Well, howdy, partners. Sit a spell. Let me jaw at you a bit. I got to talk to you about Red Dead Redemption 2, and some bees have gotten my bonnet about it because, oh boy, they get some things
Greg's
wrong
energy is
about
fantastic. It
Wild
really
West
is.
drinking. And to be fair, I really should be fair here, these are mostly problems that you're going to find across the entire Western genre. The entire field of movies and books and TV shows are just filled to the brim with myths and half-truths and outright lies, and in defense of Rockstar and Red Dead, they didn't set out to make a game that accurately portrays the West. They set out to make a game that accurately portrays a Western, and that's
a Western. Yes,
entirely.
Exactly.
And to that end, I would say that they succeeded very admirably. I haven't completed.
I feel like they
yet,
succeeded in that.
The game is
I
gorgeous.
think they've
Language
succeeded
is
in that.
fantastic. The story is engrossing and true to the genre, and all of it, really, they just nailed it. And obviously, that's why it's gone on to become one of the most popular games of all time, or certainly of the last few years. But I can't help but think,
Can we get a couple beers, please?
man, that just ain't so. And this, of course, is a drinking show, so I'm mainly going to be talking about that aspect of things here today, though I'll definitely have to touch on a few other points of order just because I got to get it off my chest.
Danger,
so let's talk
curves
about
ahead.
those drinks in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. There aren't any. Now, that's not entirely true, because you could drink a beer or straight liquor. And there's an advertisement in a newspaper you can find in-game for a Saint Denis Sazerac, which I'll be making later in this episode. But you can't
nice. Let's go.
to drink in the game, as far as I know. And that is wrong. I mean, that is like wildly just... That is just
Doug Dimmadome beer splaining. Oh my God, Christy.
Here in the 1890s West, okay? It's probably based entirely on mythology that evolved in Hollywood through the mid-20th century, and it's not based on any kind of historical fact. Cocktails at this time in real life, cocktails would have been everywhere. The Jerry Thomas Bartender's Guide, the cocktail guide from where flows basically all
Welcome back,
libations,
Pepsi Doggo.
was published in 1862. And that period of time, from the 1860s up till Prohibition, is really regarded as the golden age of cocktails.
Oh, that's very
at that
true.
Time, they were
That's
big
very true,
celebrities.
actually.
They would have been
Yeah,
interviewed
yeah,
by the
yeah.
newspapers and have human interest pieces written about them. Specific bartenders were called out by name as must-see attractions in travelogues at the time, and that's must-see attractions because the stuff they were doing flair bartending. So they would do these huge, incredible arts,
Christy,
and
oh my
spinning
God.
circles and gouts of juggle fire, all kind. I mean, it was like
More like
a circus,
cocktails.
And in fact,
God
Jerry
damn,
Thomas's
Christy.
New York
All right.
Party Exchange
All
was
right.
upstairs from P.T. Barnum's museum.
10 out of 10.
And before you say, but Greg,
10
that
out of 10.
might have been
Cocktails, woohoo.
This here is the
I love
Wild
how
West.
I'm sorry. I love how you and Warlock both went for the same fucking joke. Amazing. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for the both of you. Holy shit.
I gotta tell you, Jerry Thomas spent much of his
Oh,
career
oh my
in Gold
God.
Rush, San Francisco, a Wild West town if ever there was. Now, it's true, not every town would have had a well-apportioned saloon that could produce the fanciest of mixed elixirs, but a lot of the towns
Single
and
brain
saloons
cell
you
per
visit
chat,
Red Dead
exactly.
Redemption 2 are quite built up and civilized, especially like in Saint Denis, which is a stand-in for New Orleans. Even in saloons that
Mom,
had
it's my
limited
turn
access
for the
to
brain
necessities,
cell.
those bartenders would have been coming up with some kind of a mixed drink to entice their customers. Certainly by 1899, the
By
year
that
that
point,
Red
I would
Dead Redemption
assume
2 takes
so,
place in.
yeah.
Everything people needed to make cocktails was in supply. Sugar would have been fairly easy to come by, even in fairly bare bones settlements. Once a train came in, that's it. It's all bets are off. You've got full-on civilization coming in on the rails very quickly. Even stagecoaches would have been bringing in sugar, so they would have had access to sugar, right? Ice may not have been everywhere. but it was definitely available in all but the most desolate remote outposts. And I want to emphasize that point. Ice from town to town, you know,
Fisher got the brain cell right now.
Rox
Just catching up on her YouTube
probably
subscriptions.
the next town over did. In addition to the international ice trade, which was at its peak by this time, there was also ice being produced using compressors and ammonia evaporation machines, and that was commercialized as early as 1834. So if the town you're in didn't have ice,
borrow the single brain cell. I do.
Fresh citrus was seasonal, but that's what things like oleosaccharides and shrubs are for. Saloon owners had figured out how to preserve and extend the life and utility of their citrus and their fresh ingredients that would have gone bad for like 200 years prior to that. I mean, this was a solved problem basically by 1899. And spirits were everywhere. You could get whiskey and gin. I remember one of the things I think is shocking is that Red Dead Redemption 2 does not have tequila anywhere in the game. I mean, what? Everything people needed to make cocktails.
I'm going to need it back about 10 minutes. They did. Go back to work. Understood, Akido, yes.
Right after this.
I love coffee. I can't really seem to get enough of the stuff.
As a maximally autistic trade lover, we are sorry for killing the cowboy. Oh my God, Pepsi Doggo.
The 1890s Roper. Yeah. No, I don't think that is what I got. I don't think so. No, I'd say it's more used car salesman. I think this is Stingray, actually. No, I don't think so. Oh, come on. Really? Okay. All right, fine. No refunds. Okay. Thank you. Sure. Okay, so what drinks did they make in the Wild West? Well, obviously they made old fashions using either sugar or syrup. More commonly syrup, actually, if ice was at hand.
It's not a how-to-drink episode until Greg mentions an old-fashioned at least once.
Since 1899. Another drink that would have been around in
Let's be real here.
Wild West is the gin martini. It would have definitely been available by 1899. Probably not made with London dry gin. That might have been out, but you would have found a gin martini that was a 50-50 mix of like Old Tom with dry vermouth and a couple dashes of orange bitters and a lemon peel twist if you happen to have lemons handy. And yeah, that's a drink that Mr. Arthur Morgan may have enjoyed, as well as the sweet vermouth version, the Martinez. While I'm on gin, gin slings have been enjoyed since the early
gin. Oh yeah, Singapore sling. Yeah.
Claims to have invented the Singapore sling in 1915.
Old fashions and gin martinis. Hell yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Of the exact same drink being called a pink
I've
sling.
I've not had a Singapore sling before, but I feel like that's a drink I would enjoy personally.
I.e., a Singapore.
I feel like that's a drink I would enjoy. Personally.
I could see a Singapore sling on a steamship in 1899 or something very, very similar to it. Let's go back to whiskey, the mint julep. The mint julep dates to the early 1800s, and mint grows like a weed. Any half-decent saloon owner would have had a little plot of mint growing, outside of their saloon for their use. They would have done that. That's part of the job. There is, of course,
mint julep,
that popularized the drinking straw, the sherry cobbler, which dates back to like at least the 1820s.
Oh, wow.
And would have been on any number of menus in Red Dead Redemption 2. The gin and tonic was invented in the early 1800s, and it's not a bad way to cool off in that hot desert sun. Would have been available. Punches, which are basically large format cocktails that don't contain bitters but do contain citrus, were enormously popular in the 1700s. By 1899, they've fallen out of a bit of favor, having become passé due to the explosion of popularity of the cocktail. But single-serving rum punches in the form of swizzles would have been around. So you go to Guarma and you don't really have a chance to enjoy a drink in Guarma because you're very busy liberating a plantation's slaves, which is good. Under other conditions, I think you would have found daiquiris there. I think you would have found rum swizzles there.
Point of order. Mint doesn't grow like a weed. Mint is a weed. I don't know about the rest of the states, but the southeast is unkillable. I can see that.
Punches. You would have found daiquiris.
I can see that. 100%.
I know that there's a story about the daiquiri being invented by an American engineer in 1902, so a couple of years after this game takes place.
I love daiquiris.
There is, I think, no doubt that sugar, lime, and rum and ice were being enjoyed by the locals for years, if not decades, before that guy showed up. So give John Marston a daiquiri, damn it. Okay, you would have had daiquiris in St. Denis. You would have. Or something exactly like a daiquiri.
100%.
Tequila has been made since at least the 1600s, yet there is literally zero tequila in Red Dead Redemption 2, which is doubly weird when you consider that 1 in 3 cowboys in the Wild West were actually vaqueros in Mexico. They kind of invented the whole cowboy.
I once rented a house from a really awful creep of a landlord before moving out. I planted mint in all the ground garden beds. Damn bird!
I didn't take this time to point out that estimates currently suggest that 1 in 4 cowboys were black. So the idea that
oh my god, Akira.
a very white guy thing is a bit of revisionist history. It kind of makes cowboy superhero John Wayne's comments in that infamous
shifting temperatures.
interview.
I don't salt the earth, I mint the earth. Understood, bird. Understood.
Buying into his own mythology is just perpetuating a lot of bullshit. That's what he was doing. You know, if you're noticing a trend here, it's that there should have been cocktails everywhere in Red Dead Redemption 2. They would be ubiquitous. I've had a few comments over the years asking me for a Drinks of the Wild West episode, and I've always been resistant because basically all classic cocktails are drinks of the Wild West, which is why this episode has basically been a clip show of early HTD episodes. So the lack of cocktails in Red Dead Redemption 2 is just dead wrong. The drinks should have been everywhere. The thing that shouldn't have been everywhere, guns, actually. Nice. Not to get on too deep a tangent here, but gun control in the supposedly Wild West
fixed until January.
Very big
Jesus,
extremely important.
So what, Bert? What you're telling me is your anger was more than justified. Understood.
Like
Understood.
Dodge City, and on and on and on and on had signs posted all over the outskirts of town that carrying weapons was prohibited, and that your first stop coming into town needed to either be at a sheriff office or a hotel to have your firearms secured in a safe. I'm not exaggerating. The gunfight at the OK Corral, the one where Wyatt Earp's legend was solidified in Tombstone, Arizona, was fought over a group of fellas refusing to disarm inside of city limits. So all this hip shooter, gunfighter, Wild West stuff is mythology.
Bird, that's
and
awful.
lies. You know, another thing that's missing from Red Dead Redemption 2 is ice cream. People love that stuff. It's generally a great business to get into. And in recounting the events of the gunfight at the OK Corral, Wyatt referenced passing his favorite ice cream parlor on his way to the showdown.
Yo, Elliot, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
There were enough ice cream.
Thank you for that posture check.
Wyatt had a favorite picked out. So this whole idea of it being an untamed,
what's going on, dude? How are you?
Wild place.
Sorry, we've been watching so many food videos today that I got really hungry and I actually ended up making myself an early dinner. So we're continuing to watch videos while I eat. Hope you're doing well, friend. Hope you're doing well. A little sleepy, but doing okay. That's a mood and a half, bud. That's a mood and a half. That is a mood and a half. Holy moly. Glad you're doing well, though. Glad you're doing well.
Not really all that true. And I wonder, too, if it might be to justify some of the stuff that we got up to out there on the frontier. You know, well, it was a wild time. You know, things were different. Now, I mentioned earlier that even though the game doesn't give you a chance to drink it, it does give you a recipe for a Saint Denis Sazerac. So,
interesting.
They're going to make the Saint Denis Sazerac.
Saint Denis Sazerac.
I'm going to use the exact instructions from the newspaper.
Right.
It is essentially a Sazerac. First step is we're going to do an absinthe rinse. I am using St. George's Absinthe Verte.
Okay.
I like this one a lot. I poured a little in there. Going to coat the inside of my glass pretty well.
Yep.
And
Swirl it
just
around.
pour off the rest directly onto the floor. Per our newspaper, we need to fill this up with crushed ice and just let it sit to chill. So, in my mixing glass, I'm going to start with a sugar cube. Now, these are Demerara sugar cubes.
Okay.
I'm splitting hairs here. I just know that one of the big things with using Demerara sugar over white, that why is it done, is, well, because it's a little closer to the sugar that would have been available in 1899. Sugar on a cone, like, for example, is where most of their sugar was made.
It really does, yeah. It sounds like I'm feeling, yeah, I can see that.
Had much more molasses in it. Start with one sugar cube in my mixing glass. There it is. The newspaper recipe calls for 2 dashes of whatever bitters your local pharmacy is making, which I love, because that's accurate, that's right. But the drink we traditionally call a Sazerac calls for Peychaud's.
Peychaud's bitters, yeah.
I'm a bit torn. If I'm making a Saint Denis, should I specifically be using something other than Peychaud's to set it aside? I think probably that's right. So let's make this one with Bogart's bitters, which is a very rustic, revived, old-timey bitters recipe.
I thought it was going to go for the Angostura, because Greg loves Angostura bitters.
Bottle.
I honestly thought it was going to go for the Angostura again.
Or if you have dasher tops like this, which we'll put a link to those in the Amazon links below, you can just put that on there. And so we want to add 2 dashes of this to our sugar cube.
Nice.
1, 2. The Saint Denis Sazerac specifically calls for cognac. The Sazerac,
Cognac, holy shit.
Earlier recipe.
Oh, we're going fancy today, huh?
So that's another thing that's, I think, historically accurate. So let's make this 2 ounces of cognac.
Oh, we're going fancy today. God
Now,
damn.
I'm going to break up that sugar cube to help it get started dissolving before we add ice to this.
Holy shit.
So I'm going to add, and so it's already fallen apart. That's great. It won't dissolve into the cognac very well at all. But that's okay. We're going to add ice to it.
Getting bougie today, yeah.
Crack some ice in there.
Am I kidding? Ice.
And we're just going to stir that up really well. We don't need to oh, that's part of its charm. You want to leave some of that sugar undissolved. Don't worry. No matter how hard I try, we will not successfully dissolve all of it. There'll still be plenty of grains in there.
There's still going to be some sugar in there.
It's
just the nature of it.
Our first glass, it's thoroughly chilled. And strain our Saint Denis back into it. Neat. Even though it's in an old fashioned. And now I will peel a lemon over it.
Lemon, yep, there we go.
And give that a twist. Drop it right in there. And there we have a Saint Denis Sazerac. Now, before I get into this sipping, let me just do a little bit of background on the Sazerac. The Sazerac is a drink that is very closely associated with the city of New Orleans.
New Orleans,
It's supposedly a drink that was invented there. And I know I'm about to have an entire city coming from me, but that's also not really true. The Sazerac is just really a name for an improved whiskey cocktail, which can be made a few different ways, typically with a little maraschino, but the New Orleans variety also fits the mold.
That checks.
According to Wondrich, even that name wasn't unique. Other places also were calling their improved whiskey cocktails.
I'm aware, Sharon, don't worry.
And really any cocktail, and by that I mean old-fashioned, so gin, rum, etc., could have been improved using the same kind of improvement formula.
Improved whiskey
I made
cocktail.
a drink a while ago called an improved whiskey cocktail. It's a 1860s, 1890s kind of drink. Specifically would have definitely been served in the Wild West, and it's pretty close to a Sazerac. Woo! I think that if you're going to use the sugar cube and not simple
Saint
syrup,
Denis Sazerac full
you
of
really should just build it in the glass you're drinking it in, because
nice.
This is unsweetened. This is extremely dry, tasty, if you like cognac, bitters, and lemon rather.
Ooh, interesting.
But that's what it tastes like. This is basically cold, neat spirits with a little bit of water, so it's a little bit watered down, but it is bitters dominant. It's a bitter drink. It is earthy, lemony, cognac-y. The cognac tastes essentially
I was about to say,
slightly like very unsweet raisins.
Yeah,
and
the cognac's really the predominant flavor
as well.
profile.
That twist of lemon does a lot
I would
as far as
imagine.
flavor here goes.
I would
It is
imagine.
dry, non-sweet raisins. That's what it tastes like. It's a stiff drink. It is strong, and yeah, not too bad actually. I kind of like it. It has a nice little evolution. I think it could be a little sweeter. I think having it just be a touch sweeter would have made a big difference here.
Just a tiny bit sweeter.
I would a long while back, and I used, quote, the wrong ingredients. I didn't use Peychaud's, basically. And to rectify that, I'll do a proper Sazerac so I can compare it to the Saint Denis. Okay, so let's talk about how I would make a Sazerac if I'm making one myself. This is gonna be like New Orleans style. So first off, I'm not gonna do the absinthe rinse first. I will do a rinse, but I'm gonna do the ice first. Okay, so I'm gonna just crack a big cube here.
Oh, the ice. Oh, you know what?
Just let that chill my glass. We're just gonna let that chill in my glass.
See what happens.
If you want, you can give it a little stir. It kind of helps it.
Does it?
It's got plenty of time.
I imagine the flavor
Next,
profile
we're gonna
might change
start
a bit,
here with
depending
some
on when you
syrup
do the
in our mixing
absinthe
glass.
rinse.
Why not?
I could see that happening.
A sugar cube, like the book says. Well, I mean, frankly, it didn't get into my drink at all. It didn't dissolve. There's really no amount of stirring that's going to get that in there. I would do, that's my own personal taste. I'm going to do 2 bar spoons. Yeah. I do kind of like my drinks a little sweet. And that's still not very much sugar, right? That's pretty light. So I'm going to do 2 bar spoons of sugar. I did this one with the Bogart's bitters. Okay, sure. You get why I did that. But I really do think that Peychaud's is really the key thing with the Sazerac. And I stand by that. It has its own unique flavor. I think it's really important to this drink. So I'm going to do 2 dashes.
Peychaud's bitters,
I've heard that
nice.
people go even more. I've also heard that people do a split of Peychaud's and Ango. It's not a crazy idea to do 2 of each. But I'm going to let this one just be Peychaud's. I'm just going to do Peychaud's on its own. You can always do that kind of a drink, you know, if you wanted to throw some Angostura in there. So, cognac versus rye. I gotta say,
what
I'm
are we doing? Cognac or rye?
I'm gonna go with the rye. So we're gonna put in 2 ounces of rye. I'm using an Old Forester rye. By the way, these bottles that I'm using here, available with Curiata. if
That's-
you are
that's gonna
looking
be
to
a
get
really
some
good
bottles
flavor.
shipped to your home.
A
so
really,
you can follow
really
along
good
what I'm making
ride.
on
That's
the
gonna be
show.
some. That's gonna be a really nice flavoring.
Can help you out. Probably, if you live in the United States of America, it serves about 70 or 80% of the U.S. population currently. They should have this Pierre Ferrand 1840 cognac.
The bottle of rye probably
this, by the way,
Angels Envy.
Pierre Ferrand
Nice
made this
Kingfisher.
with the
Very
kind of
nice,
help
very
from David
nice.
Wondrich to make a cognac that would have been appropriate to 1840, 1899, that style of cognac. It's the right stuff. So, we got our bitters, we got our spirit, we got our simple.
All right.
We're ready at this point for some ice.
Ice
I'm
time.
gonna crack some ice in here. Give it a stir. Now, I don't need to stir as aggressively or as long because I've already got my sugars dissolved.
Yeah, because
I'm
the
using
simple
a
syrup
instead
right?
of a granulated sugar. Perfect. I'm gonna let that sit. Now I'm gonna empty the ice out of this. I'm gonna hit that with a little
out the ice.
St. George absinthe.
Absinthe
available
rinse.
via Curiata. Swirl that around in there. Great, and then that's perfect. And now we'll strain our drink into a glass. Take a lemon twist. Give that a little whoof. There we go, beautiful. Big
That's
and oily.
really nice.
Drop it in. And this is a Sazerac.
The lemon
Sazerac,
twist is so
or
classy.
A New Orleans Sazerac, right alongside your Saint Denis. I have a funny
The
feeling I
lemon
like this
twist
one
is really, really
a
classy.
lot better. A lot more flavor.
That's good. That's good.
The absinthe is way more present. It's enough that it really clears and opens up your nose and sinuses. There is
So
a
it does
little
matter.
bit, and I know you guys think I'm crazy, there's a little bit of anise flavor, I think I get at least in Coca-Cola. The absinthe and
That's got to be from the
the
rye.
Peychaud's kind of conspire to taste a bit like the nasty bitter parts of Coca-Cola,
Oh.
which in this cocktail is wonderful. There are cherry notes in there. That
I like
Old Forester
I like brandy, but this
has
drink
some
just
real
a little
cherry
spice coming off the rye.
flavors to it.
Yeah.
It is just barely balanced with the sugar. I mean, any less would be a little undersweetened. You know, if you compare it, it's dry. That's real bone dry. Not bad though. This is chocolatier in a way. It sounds crazy, but this is a little more cherry, lemony. Certainly lemon nose from that. The lemon is present. I mean, you get a lot of lemon off of a little twist of good lemon peel like that. This is a complicated and wonderful and delicious cocktail. With a sugar cube, you would not have gotten as consistent a balancing. It's less
Yeah, I was
predictable.
about to say, I
Even a
feel like
Barshman's,
with the
it's not a very
simple, you're
accurate
probably
measurement,
gonna
it's
get
just
more of a
Barshman's a
balance.
Barshman, right? But it's at least
Probably.
consistent. I know I'm adding something that will.
I kind of want to
whatever add
try
will
this. I
end
don't
up in
have
the
any
drink, whereas
rye
when you
on
work
me,
with a sugar cube,
nor cognac.
you know,
for
those
that matter.
granulated, if you have grains
I
of sugar
definitely
sitting on
would
the
try
bottom of
this.
a cocktail, you're really not getting
100%.
them until you eat them. They don't really do much to the drink. And in the way
that's
that
just
the Saint
mixology
Denis
in a
Sazerac was
nutshell,
described
Sharon.
in the game, we didn't even get sugar to move from our
Because you want to chill the
into
drink
our
with the
drinking.
ice, but you don't want ice in
So,
your glass, so you chill
know,
the glass
I strongly
with
encourage
some
you to use
ice
a syrup.
first.
I just do. I think it's better.
Mix
I think
up
that
your
most
drink and then
bartenders of the
pour,
time and age
you know,
would be using a syrup, by the way.
pour
All right,
the-
well, so
pour your
today
mixed
I
drink
talked
in.
about the drinks that should have been in Red Dead Redemption 2, and then I made the
Someone
one
insists on
drink
raw
that showed
sugar and a
up in
cold
it. I wasn't
cocktail
too
or being a
thrilled with it.
snob about a
Then I
grainy
showed
drink
you
with poor
how to
sugar
make a proper
distribution.
Sazerac
Thank you,
ginger
Bird.
drink
Thank
for
you.
Red Dead
Thank you.
Redemption. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 a little bit on Twitch. You might catch me there at twitch.tv.
I will take a Metropolitan over a Manhattan, but Rise
I
a
am
winner in a
on Twitter.
Sazerac.
How do you do
Agreed. Agreed.